I got to kick this thing off. Can I kick it off? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ladies and gentlemen, listen.
Yo, what's good, everybody? You are now listening to another episode of the Man Listen Show. But before we get started, let's hear a few words from our sponsors.
DD's adding that flavor to your function. DD's daiquiri. Good people, good vibe, one drink at a time. Good people, good vibe, one drink at a time. Flavor to your function. DD's daiquiri. Good people, good vibe, one drink at a time. Good people, good vibe, one drink. Wanna kick back, wanna just vibe. Wanna kick back, let me first slide to the drink store. Let me just buy DD drink mixes, all of them fire. Fill me up a case, I'm finna drop bread. Marvelous mango, classic and red. Took them to the party, these folks won't leave me alone. They wanting me to share, they better get their own. DD's adding that flavor to your function. DD's daiquiri. Good vibe, one at a time. Good vibe, one at a time.
Are costly cable bills giving you the blues? Well, Magic Streams is your answer. Watch all of your favorite teams live in HD. You will also get access to over 1,500 movies and be able to watch TV shows instantly. Magic Streams. Click the link in our bio to get more information. Conversate with Us Radio presents the Man Listen Show. We are the blackest radio show on the internet. We bring you our opinion on topics that affect the black community in an effort to enlighten, enrich, and empower every brother and sister that falls under the sound of our voice. We operate on a no-hating frequency, so be prepared for us to keep it 100% real and 100% black all the time. Please follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Man Listen Show. You can subscribe to the show on YouTube. You can subscribe to the show on our website, www.manlistenshow.com. Buy your merch, share the show, let everybody know about the blackest radio show on the internet, the Man Listen Show. I'm your host, Marv B. Let's bring the crew in. All right, y'all. So last week, it was kind of like a poorly kept secret, but they finally announced it. The Supreme Court overturned Roe v Wade. So basically what that did was made the pathway for a lot of these red states that want to basically make abortion illegal. It made it a lot easier for them to do so. So that federal protection that women have, that Roe v. Wade gave them, is no longer there. Much to the chagrin of many people, this was an earth-shattering decision. A lot of women were upset about this. A lot of men were upset about it as well. So you know how we do. We want to talk about it, how it affects the black community. So me and Lab, we talked about it before the show. As men, we probably need to take a back seat on this, even though we do have an opinion. But see, Erika, when y'all saw it, it finally announced, because they had leaked Alito's opinion, right? It was a big scandal, right? Because that's supposed to be top secret, but they leaked it. So we pretty much knew that they were going to overturn Roe versus Wade. But then when it finally got announced, everybody was just like, man, I can't believe they did it. So Erika, C, what y'all think? Y'all the two women on the show. What y'all think about this?
I mean, obviously, once the papers got leaked, we knew it was going to happen. So I don't have the same anger up in arms that I had when that paper first came out, because I'm not as shocked anymore. It's like, we knew this was about to happen. I don't know why everybody's acting like this is brand new news, but I think maybe we were hoping that the outrage that it sparked might have made them go back to the drawing board and maybe reconsider. But I already know who we have on the Supreme Court, so I wasn't surprised personally. I'm angry, of course. I think it's ridiculous, but I wasn't surprised.
I mean, I guess I wasn't surprised either. And then Erika brought up a good point about just knowing who's on the Supreme Court. But I think it takes it back to what we talked about like many shows ago. I think Erika was the first one that said it, like there needs to be term limits. There needs to be a time where you kind of age out of that job. At the time when, I know everybody loves RGB for everything that she did for so many years. But I think had she had planned her timely, step away or something and allowed people to put somebody else in there, then it might be a little more even than what it is now. I don't know if that, who knows? It's too late to say that, now that maybe we could have got somebody else in there that maybe would have thought, her thoughts might have aligned more with hers, but I don't know. I kind of think it was selfish. I don't know why you just wanted just to write it out until you couldn't anymore. At least plan for somebody. You know what I mean? It's just like in most positions or jobs, whenever you get a promotion or you move on somewhere, you usually have to prepare somebody to take your place. Have somebody on your bench just ready just to step up when you step away. And it doesn't seem like the Supreme Court is that way.
I think that just goes back to how weak the Democrats are, though, because you're right. See, in business, you always have succession planning, right? And you can't tell me they're not in communication. Like the guy I think it's Stephen Breyer. He's the one who's retiring, so Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson can take his place, right? So that's in the works. So they definitely could have made that happen. I just think the Democrats don't play to win. They don't play to win. I was talking with some of my homeboys about this, and it was like, who's to blame? Obviously, the blame is the conservative court, right? But this goes all the way back to our boy Barry. It does. If you think about it, he put on when Scalia died, Barry had the opportunity to put a justice on the bench, right? And the Republicans stole that. They stole it. They did. They absolutely stole it. But he picked Merrick Garland. Merrick Garland, who's the Attorney General now, a moderate, a white man who people were not enthused about, like Merrick Garland. Why would you pick him? Now, look how people were supporting Ketanji Brown Jackson. Now, imagine had Obama put a Black woman up for that spot, right? You would have motivated the people to go out and vote, and Hillary might have won. Now, I don't think most Republicans, most of like the Republicans who got sense, they not with Trump's antics and none of that mess. But he was a useful tool. He got three Supreme Court justices on the bench, and you see what happened. That's his legacy now. Those 3 judges, and they always said, hey, if they get this court, they're going to overturn Roe v. Wade. They're going to overturn it, and that's exactly what they did. So the real question is, what's next? Right? And what we didn't talk about, and I think that's really more impactful to Black people, my personal opinion, was what they did to Miranda rights, because they basically gutted that. So your Miranda rights just went out the door, but that all got missed with the Roe v. Wade decision. So there's a lot of blame to go around. I don't like it. I got 3 young daughters, right? I got a niece. There's plenty of women. I don't want them having somebody else that, hey, this is what you do with your reproductive rights or whatever. But we knew it was going to happen, and that, what we're going to do now.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that too. We knew, honestly, yeah, like you said, when Merrick Garland didn't even get voted on, we knew it was gonna happen. Mm-hmm. And I will disagree about it being on Barry, because it don't matter who he would have nominated. Mitch McConnell wasn't going to put him up for a vote, and it doesn't matter. People wouldn't have voted for Hillary. More people wouldn't have. Hillary wasn't going to win, because it was the backlash to Barry was really what drove people to vote the other way. That's my opinion. So,
or maybe not vote the other way. It motivated some. It made some people just say, "I'm not going to vote. I'm going to stay home."
Okay.
Which is basically voting for the other way.
Yeah.
But see, what I don't understand, and seeing Rika, y'all can clear this up for me. I know in like most states, abortion isn't illegal like 100%. Like it's like legal like up to like 15 weeks, or is it varies from state to state, correct? It's like you pregnant, you got it. It's not like that, right? There's still a few weeks where you can actually still have an abortion. Is that correct?
No.
Okay.
Missouri was like,
yeah, not in Missouri.
10 seconds after that decision came out, Missouri was like, boop, illegal. Have a nice life. Yeah. And so now they talk about they targeting
no abortion unless, and not even if your life is at risk.
I don't think that I think that it has a very few exceptions, but I know it doesn't mention rape, incest, and I'm not sure how far it goes on whether or not your life is at risk. But I know Missouri is one of the strictest ones, and I know there were a couple other states that followed right behind them. So there are a lot of, especially
So no weeks at
conservative.
all.
No.
So as soon as your period is late, you show.
Welcome to the party.
As soon as he cracked that egg, you done, you know.
Listen, and then so it has so many layers to it though, right? Because like I'll go back to and talk about even how we even got to this point. But so the problem really with these kind of rulings is not necessarily the actual thing. Like you said, how they skated past the whole gutting the Miranda rights thing. Same thing. So this is a slippery slope. It's not the first thing, it's what's coming next. Because so let's say I'm a drug addict and I'm pregnant and I do drugs and the baby dies. Did I just commit murder? Do I get to be, so they're saying right now you're not going to be charged for having an abortion, only the providers will be charged and whatever. But if life starts at conception and then I'm, not being a good mom or whatever, and this baby dies, is that a potential murder case? Like, we have no idea where it ends with this. And so it's like one of those things where we basically place control of like not just women's reproductive systems, but really women's whole lifestyle at the hands of the government. Because even smoking cigarettes, I've seen people smoke cigarettes while they're pregnant. I disapprove. I don't think they should go to jail necessarily, but if something comes out,
smoke weed while they're pregnant,
everything
while they were pregnant. I mean,
right, the baby come out with deformities or something like that, are you liable personally to that baby? Are you going to be denied certain government benefits?
No,
because
you're not. You know why? Because they only care about the fetus.
It's only pro-life. They only pro-birth.
Yeah.
They don't care about the baby after it's born.
That's it.
Arika, you brought up an interesting point too about smoking cigarettes and stuff. It got me thinking, like, so can you sue for your job to provide or they provide coverage per se, for like your insurance coverage? Is the kid covered from the time of conception now? Because they'll start charging you more money because you have a dependent on your health insurance, and taxes will be higher on you for that because you'll have a dependent for longer, things like that. That's an interesting point.
Yeah, I think how many people y'all think are going to be traveling? Like, I'm interested to see if they're going to make like some of these fugitive laws, like say like you live in Texas where I'm at, right? And you find out you're pregnant, you can't get an abortion, right? So whether you're going to hop a flight to California, and what happens if you come back and your doctor does an exam, they could tell that you have, I don't know if this, I'm not a woman, I don't know if doctors can tell if you had an abortion or not.
They can.
What if they can? And then all of a sudden they put it in the medical reports, and now privacy was really what this is about too. It's in the medical reports, and now it's like, you wouldn't have an abortion? Got you. It's just like you said, it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, and not only that, but there are some women who have posted about the apps that women use to track their cycle. Like, that information is being like monitored now in correlation to whether or not, if this app is monitoring your cycle and you late, you a week, 2 weeks late, now they know you know what I mean, basically pregnant, and you don't have this baby, now you on their radar. So now it's like, if that data, whatever you sign off on when you're using these apps, we don't know what type of privacy is that. It could be hacked, anything. And so it's a lot of women concerned about even just that.
We already know, because when you said, God dog it, I'm pregnant, your phone heard you. And so they already
did. Google starts sending you baby diapers and bonnets.
It's gonna show up on
stuff.
Facebook as soon as you say it. It's gonna show up on Facebook. Yeah, for real. Because Facebook do be listening, for real.
And then the other thing about that too is, so it's like when you have that, when you have all this information and stuff that's out there that they're harvesting and using against you, what that creates the potential for, as of right now, they're not prosecuting women who are having these abortions and stuff like that. But like I said, if it turns into, harming the fetus, or if it does turn into they criminalize this, that's just more, ammo to use to get Black people back into the prison industrial complex, which is just a roundabout way of saying back into slavery. It's cheap labor. And it's too many Black women out here being successful, getting more degrees than anybody else and all this other stuff. And now here we come with this way to undermine it. And I know they're talking about they're trying to save white lives and whatnot, which I mean, I think is true. But at the same time, it's a double-edged sword. So they can save their race numbers and still use it against us to criminalize us or to, use that against us.
Not only that, though, not only that, but yeah, they know that they're dying off, right? So they say, hey, listen, in order to get these numbers back up, we got to have more white babies. That lady, whoever that was, that representative that said for saving white life, tried to say, I meant to say the right to life, but no, you really said what you wanted to say, right? White life. But the other piece too, though, and shout out to my boy B Dub for highlighting this for me. There's no better way to subjugate us to staying a working class people. If we're already struggling, right, with the wealth gap, what happens when you can't control, you don't have birth control, right? Because they're going after birth control next, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you steadily having kids and you can't get on your feet, right? You don't have a system that'll help you. Hey, listen, yeah, I got these kids, but I can still go to school. I can still do whatever I got to do. So you're subjecting us to more poverty by forcing them to have kids, and you're building that working class that white folks can be above. So it's very diabolical what they're doing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
hey, see, you mind if I call you out as a Republican? If not, I won't do it.
She been real quiet. She clapping over there.
See, so what you think as a Republican? I mean, are you pro-life? What's your stance on it? Be for real.
So like with most things, I don't have a stance. I see both sides of it.
She sound like a Supreme Court judge during the nomination. I don't have a stance. Honestly, it's settled law.
With a lot of statistics, it just depends on who's doing it at the time. I mean, there's a lot of people saying that, Republicans or white people are saying they're doing it because they want to preserve white life. But then on the flip side, if you read things, it looks like Black and Latino women have abortions at a much higher rate. And if you look at where most neighborhoods where abortion clinics are at, they're typically in lower poverty areas, in minority areas. So you gonna have people on both sides saying the pros and the cons and why people are doing this. I really think that this, like a lot of other things, is just almost like I'm gonna keep everybody focused over here, and then I'm really doing all the magic tricks with this hand, like you brought up, like the Miranda rights and things like that. I just think that that's just, it's another case. They've been arguing with it for so long, and Republicans just wanted to win something. They feel like they've been losing for a while, and so they finally got it right with the Republicans, the right people in the Supreme Court, and so they just made a power move.
Well, I think the thing about that is the abortion clinics are in the Black and brown neighborhoods because the white women are going to doctors in specialized facilities. They're not at the abortion clinics. They don't need to go to Planned Parenthood because they have the money and the resources, and they're going to continue to use that money and resources to access safe abortions. Whereas now people in our community are going to be doing home remedies and falling down the stairs and hangers and charcoal and whatever else people used to do prior to having access to safe abortions. So we're going to be like basically subjecting ourselves to higher health risks and concerns with trying to either terminate the pregnancy in unsafe environments or come up with the money to try to travel, like you said, which is less likely. You can't tell me that there's people in the projects who used to live 2 blocks away from a Planned Parenthood who were struggling to come up with that $350 or whatever it is these days. They're not going to be able to come up with plane fare or train fare or whatever to get to another city or state to get a safe abortion. So they're going to be practicing these unhealthy tactics or old wives' tales that people have or think work to end, pregnancy. Or worse yet, just trying to, drink and smoke it away. And now we're going to have an increased number of disabilities and whatnot in our community. The repercussions are going to be felt in so many different ways and for a long time.
Did y'all see where CVS and Rite Aid put a cap on the number of bees people can buy?
Amazon too.
I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually shocked that they didn't make those illegal.
I didn't know nothing about a different I guess they call it it's a different one. It's a 2-dose that you can get. I just learned about that one today, honestly.
I
So it's
think
not
it's
the Plan
good
B
though that
pill,
they
it's a
put
different one.
So I think it's good that they put a limit on how many you can buy though, because I don't think that the people that were buying, mass, amounts of them, it was for a good reason. I think they were doing like,
I
back when
have
people.
I have a friend though. She has 2 college-age daughters,
Uh-huh.
and so she had harvested a bunch of them when the draft opinion came out. She had posted she was getting as many as she could for her daughters and their friends.
Yeah, so
Just so they could have them.
Her daughter's fucking like that. You better
No,
get
but I mean, hey,
Better to have and not
exactly.
need than need and not
no,
have.
but I think for the most people though were like trying to buy and hoard them just so that they resell them at a higher.
Oh yeah,
price.
like, cause you remember when the pandemic happened and that dude
Yeah,
bought up all the hand sanitizers and was trying to price gouge people, and he got called out on it, and he said, "Oh, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and give it away."
Yeah, so that's why I said I'm glad that they did put a limit on it.
The thing about it is, a lot of times you'll hear the Republicans or people that are in favor of it say, "Well, we're giving it back to the states for the states to decide," right? So it's not
never
a federal
been
law or anything like that,
Never.
right? Which echoes exactly, the states' rights is what they try to say the Civil War is about. But Kansas, they actually have it on the ballot in August, and I think. I was giving C a hard time, about a Republican, but I think if you put it to a popular vote in every state, everybody would say they were opposed to this ruling. So, if they really say it's about states' rights or giving it to the local jurisdictions, then let the people vote. It's one of those things. I was thinking about Mitch McConnell, and like you said, all the justices that were put on the bench. The Republicans have only won one popular election since '92. One.
And who was that? Was that Bush, the daddy?
That was the second in 2004. That's the only one they won.
HW, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only time they won the popular vote, and they controlled the everything in the government. It goes back to, we've said it many times. You mentioned it earlier, man. The Democrats are just spineless, man. And they like to run off of the hope. You try to sell you hope, but they actually do nothing about it. Do nothing. They keep selling you the hope.
Well, the thing about it is they don't know how to come together for the greater good. So you'll have those who are the extreme liberals like AOC and Elizabeth Warren and all them. And then you have the moderates, and then they can't find the middle ground. So then they just like, well, F it. We ain't finna get nothing done. Right. Until we didn't make it to where we actually can't do anything. Now you got those MAGA Republicans, and then you got the moderate Republicans, right? But when it comes down to like, hey, listen, we need to come together to maintain power, they know how to do that. They know how to keep and use power, because to your point, they ain't won a popular election, right? So you got these dudes, this dude and this woman, what's her name, Amy Coney Barrett, on the bench. And they're not representing what this country really wants. They're not at all. So, yeah,
they can't even agree on what the greater good is. Right. The Democrats to even try to start coming together, like they're so disjointed.
Right.
The majority of Democrats, though, as I say, Black Democrats are against abortion too. If you really think about it, like Black churches and religion.
Personally, but therefore somebody else is right to make their own decision.
They could be,
but that's like me though. See, like, again, I'm a man, so my personal opinion is I'm pro-life, but I'm also pro-choice. So just because I'm like, yeah, you know what, y'all got a baby on the way, maybe unfortunate circumstance, obviously with some common sense, right? Rape and incest and stuff like that. But it's like, hey, we didn't have teen pregnancies for years, and we didn't thugged it out. We didn't, we made it to where it's okay. But I know it's not my place to tell a woman what to do. So I think maybe that's where they coming from. I don't think they down to control.
I think for the most part, really religious old folks and Black folks are against abortion, like hands down. Like after a certain age and a certain when I say like religious, I'm talking going to church every day. Most of them are against abortion.
But do you think that they would vote to keep people from having them, to have the right to have them?
I don't know. I don't hang around enough of them to
That's
know.
that's why I said
That's the only point I'm trying to make.
yeah, me too. I'm against it personally, but in my mind, this is their mindset. I'm against it personally for me, but I'm not going to hinder you from being able to make that decision for yourself.
Yeah, man. You know, I came up with it crossed my mind. It's like, what are we going to tell these young boys?
Wow, yeah, that's a aspect we ain't even thought about.
Young boys, and y'all know I wrote my book on fatherhood, and I always said it. Hey, listen, the only time you have control is whether you decide to strap up or not, and that message really kind of just stays the same, right? Like, but it's much more prevalent now. Listen, you can't go spend that $3 whatever to go ahead and fix that mistake. You can't do that. So you need to protect yourself, you know, and protect you, respect yourself, and make sure that, hey, listen, it's even more critical now what you do with your body and with the woman you decide to lay down with, for real.
Yeah, my husband talked to my son about that last week when they were at freshman orientation. He was like, before you get up here at college acting a fool, don't bring us no babies because we can't get them back now.
Because I know plenty of people who are lawyers and doctors, and I won't say no names, but they wouldn't have been a lawyer or doctor were it not for Planned Parenthood. They would.
I mean,
they would have had mad kids. They would have had to drop out. Their whole trajectory of their life would be different.
Yeah.
Some would have powered through it, right? Absolutely. Okay. But a lot of them, their life would be totally different.
Yeah.
And that's not, and I'm not saying that's a good thing, like I said, because I don't really believe in abortion, right? But it's just facts.
Yeah. I read an article, a lot of it too is people, you hear people coming out now talking about I did this, I did have an abortion back in the day. And there's, a lot of times we look at it from that financial aspect and, but there are some people who just are in a bad situation. They might be, well-to-do financially. They just might be in an abusive relationship, or it could have been a one-night thing, a mistake. But that shouldn't
a one-night stand.
That shouldn't affect their life for the rest. A one-night indiscretion shouldn't affect it for the rest of their life.
We all grown.
Yeah,
we all grown, and y'all may be at that stage where they're like, man, hell no, I ain't finna have no more kids, right? But stuff happens. I don't wish that on nobody. You know what I mean? But I know a lot of grown people that have made that mistake, right? And that's the like, I can't do this because my husband will kill me because I know it ain't his. Man, it's gonna affect a lot of people, man.
It is.
I'm trying to tell you.
Listen, yeah, it really is in ways that you can't even, like the ripple effect.
Yeah.
Like, cause you thinking about it, like first thing you like rape, incest, teens, but then when you start getting into abusive relationships and side boos and people start turning up murder because babies ain't theirs. I mean, you might as well start making the paternity test mandatory at the hospital now if you're gonna do all this.
Right. And they're talking about going for, like you said, contraception and possible. They're talking about in vitro. As someone who if you've had experience like struggling to get pregnant, and that's one of the few options that's available to you, that's disheartening.
They going after in vitro
because they fertilize X number of eggs in the process, and so the ones that are able to be viable, I guess, the other ones they get rid of, and so technically it's a fertilized egg, which it starts at conception, I get, so technically that's a life.
Hey man, we probably got some
slippery slope.
We probably got some Republicans that watch the show, but they some idiots, man.
That's dumb. Yeah. To talk about stem cell research, all kind of stuff is going to be affected, man.
Well, so like the legal part that I didn't get into in the beginning is this all started with the right to privacy. Do we have a constitutional right to privacy over our right to choose or whatever? So when Roe v. Wade came out, they decided that we have a right, and then it protected us from whatever the state's wishy-washy may be, and created just the federal constitutional right to privacy, or basically liberty over our bodies, and basically we can make decisions about what happens with ourselves. The crazy thing about when they overturned it, and I'm gonna read it verbatim, and this is what y'all is gonna really feel some type of way about. They overturned it on the grounds that the right to abortion was not deeply rooted in this nation's history or tradition, and was not considered a right when the Due Process Clause was ratified in 1868. Guess what else wasn't considered a right back in
Exactly.
1868?
And the person who wrote that opinion was 3/5 of a man when that was ratified.
Oh my God.
Man.
And he over here trying to overturn everything but loving.
That's what I said. Yeah, they said he gonna try to overturn everything but that, right? Because he married to
Right.
Yeah, that dude. He's
So if we don't have a constitutional right,
you know who to blame
privacy,
for him. You know who to blame for him?
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden.
I knew he was gonna say that.
Joe Biden.
No, Joe Biden.
Hey, let's keep it a buck. Joe Biden is to blame for that one.
Joe went hard for him, man.
Went hard when Anita Hill came. Joe Biden
is
to blame for that.
But and that it was his 35 years later, or what have you, 31, however long he's been on the bench. I think 31 years, something like that. But to replace Thurgood Marshall, they came up with this brother, dog. Come on, man. That just shows they feel that's really how they feel about us. We just throw a black face out there.
Pretty much.
He tried to get they tried to get it's like have you been to the African American Museum in DC?
No, I couldn't get in when I went.
I couldn't either.
So I've been twice, and you really can't see it all in one day. It is so massive, and there's so much. Like when you first go, they take you because it tracks you from from Africa, to when we were brought to this country, and you basically just go through our whole time in the United States, and then it stops at Obama's election. When Obama was inaugurated, it stops right there. But then
starts going backwards. Yeah.
But then you have different floors, right? That's on top of that part, right? That's the main exhibit. But then you have blacks in government, military and everything, right? That's a floor. You have black music, that's got its own floor. Black people in sports, it's got its own floor. It's massive. And some people were up in arms because there was only a small section for Clarence Thomas. And people were like, it should have been much more for him. It was like, why? He ain't for black people, he not. But yeah.
He's lucky he in there.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I recommend that y'all go there, man. I went twice. And the first time I went, it was packed, right? Because it was when it first opened. And people were going in droves. And when you go, you get into this big elevator, and it takes you all the way down, right? And it's showing the different tribes where we more than likely came from. And it was in the summertime, and it was packed. And I was with my line brother, and it was just packed. It was jam-packed, and I felt myself starting to have a panic attack. Because it was hot, I couldn't breathe. And I kept trying to walk ahead. I was like, dude, let's just get ahead of this crowd. And he wanted to read every single thing. I'm like, no, let's go. And then I went and had lunch, because also the dope thing about it is in the cafeteria, they have food that is representative of the different regions that Black people are more predominantly in, like Creole food. I can't think of the other, soul food. They have it's 3 different types, right?
Barbecue.
And the food is great. Yeah, barbecue food is great. And I had lunch with these 2 beautiful older sisters. And I told them, I was like, hey, I ain't gonna lie, man. I was having a panic attack because it was so packed and so many people, and it was hot and I couldn't breathe. And both of them were history professors at TSU, Texas Southern. And they said they did that on purpose.
Yeah.
They wanted you to feel how our ancestors felt when they was coming over. And I was like, damn, they did a great job, man.
Great job, man. Great job.
Man.
Hey, our ancestors that made it over, they were some tough, what's, boy, because that is awful.
Yeah, I need to go, man. Only time I went to DC since it's been open was it was during the pandemic, and so they had limited number of tickets, and I didn't get every day. They have so many they give out. I had it, and I couldn't get there and get them.
Yeah,
so.
I didn't plan in advance
Exactly.
enough.
You got to plan it. So, and before we wrap up, I'm gonna say this. I think that the Supreme Court making this decision helped the Democrats tremendously, because they were about to get slaughtered at these midterms. Now, they still might lose some ground, but I think it's going to be totally different than what it was. What y'all think? Y'all think it's going to be a difference now because of Roe v. Wade? Because honestly, I think Biden said it the best. I think he recovered from falling off that bike. Y'all see him fall off that bike? That'd be just sad, man. Come on, bro. That's just sad, man. He recovered.
You're not supposed to laugh at the elderly.
Was he? He wasn't even
falling off that bike, man.
Was he clipped in or something, man?
It was slow motion.
Was he clipped in or something and tried to stop or something?
No, he couldn't have been clipped in. Not at that.
I was just like, maybe he just forgot he was trying to stop or something.
Didn't even put his foot down.
Didn't even put it right. Didn't put his foot down.
Oh my God, he looked so old.
He just gave up.
But when he said, hey man, basically this is on the ballot. This is on the ballot. So if y'all really serious about women's rights, y'all better turn up and make sure that we maintain power, or we gain more power so we can actually do something.
You can't though. That's the thing. The way they've
they ain't voted on it yet in all these hundreds of years. Roe v. Wade was in 1978. Congress could have made this law of the land.
He had many a times to codify it, right?
Ago.
Didn't do it. But I'm saying the way that the elections on the national level are set up, and even on the state level, all the votes that they gain, it's not going to be a gain for them, right? Because they're not going to gain any rural votes probably. So it's going to be all in the urban, where they're not worried about that. And the way it's set up, you can get everybody in California you want. You're going to get 10 million more people in California to vote for Biden, and it's not going to make a difference. Or to vote for the Democrat, but it's not going to make a difference in the Senate, because Wyoming's going to stay Wyoming, North Dakota's going to stay North Dakota. Georgia's going to, well, not Georgia. Missouri's going to stay Missouri. Arkansas is going to stay Arkansas. I mean,
let's hope Georgia don't go back.
That's what I say. Yeah,
that dude Herschel Walker is so.
Oh man, that's embarrassing.
I almost said, you can't say that no more. That boy Herschel Walker,
he's special.
I think I heard it.
I'm gonna cut it out.
Every time he talks, I'm like, I am so embarrassed.
Herschel, like, he sound like a slave.
He
really sound like that. I know people from the South who got Southern accents. Like, I really think he's almost playing it up for them.
I think he is. He definitely is, man.
I don't know. It's like a CTE issue too. Something's not right with his head.
Yeah, that might be it too. You're right.
Yeah. Have you seen his son? Like the one
that
he originally claimed, not the new ones. His son.
Not the new ones.
Not the new ones.
Oh, y'all didn't read about that?
He got at least two other ones. At least two.
No, Herschel Walker was out there talking about, like, family and being an upstanding parent and all this, that, and the other. Come find out he had like 2 little side kids.
Mm-hmm.
No, are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just came out. Yeah, I said, oh, really? What about these 2? And he had to.
After he won the primary.
And what made it worse was his oldest son. His oldest son is, I don't know if he's out, but he's definitely wearing a uniform because he's very flamboyant.
Yeah.
He's super flamboyant, right?
Yeah.
And he is a super, I'll just say, conservative. I was going to say another word that starts with a C, but he's a super conservative. He's a super conservative, right? And he was talking about black men and you need to raise your kids and this, that, and the other. And then come find out, hold on, player. Your daddy is black too, remember? And he ain't had these kids in his life, right? So I sure hope Reverend Raphael Warnock, I hope he can hold that seat, because if they put Herschel in, oh my God, that's gonna be the worst.
Right.
That's gonna be the worst, man. But we're gonna see. I feel for everybody. that is troubled by this. I mean, I know that it is a very, very delicate topic and something that, you know, they basically pulled the right away from women across the country. And, you know, obviously there's some people who are happy about this, but what's next? What's next on it? Is it going to be our civil rights, or what other liberty of ours is going to be potentially taken away by this, you know, fake Supreme Court, you know, that doesn't represent the views and the beliefs of the majority of this country. So we'll keep an eye on it. We'll continue to talk about it. I think we talked about it enough. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at manlistenshow. Subscribe to the show. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think about this topic. Are you for the decision? Or are you against the decision? Share it with your people. Let us know what you think. We'll holler at you next time. Peace.
Peace. Biden, do that executive order.
Man, expand the court.
Exactly.
No.